Greetings, Internet. Hello, how are you today? If you're joining us from the Facebooks, the YouTubes, or from the far future on the iTunes, then let me just say, hello, how are you? There's punch and cookies on your way in through the door. Today, my friends, we have a very, very special guest with us today. But first, ladies and gentlemen, I must show you my super cool and super awesome little thing that came in the mail today. We have merchandise now. The new pair came in that this is our new sweatshirt that is for our mastermind, and you can get this along with a whole bunch of other stuff that just came in. You can get that over on our shop over at benjaminebig.com, which you can ask and just pop up via the mobile or desktop devices. Go and get I gotta say, like, everyone's been ordering the sweatshirt. This has been like the popular thing, and I have to say it is actually super cozy, like a blanket.
It's super cool looking.
Thank you. I designed it myself.
I love it.
Everyone keeps like comparing the artwork to the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and I did not mean for it to come out like that, but I am happy with the comparison.
Right? I mean, it definitely makes that comparison.
And that mysterious voice off in the distance of the darkness of the iTunes. Who is that voice? Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest for you. She spent years trying to create a method that even the most introverted people could learn and follow. Her program will empower you to step out of your comfort zone and build the life you desire, whatever that may be. People need people, and she is going to show you how to find the right people that will support and inspire you to live your best life. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the show, Miss Chrissy Larsen!
Man, you make me feel like such a big deal.
Well, you are. You are indeed one of the cool friends.
I love it. Thanks for having me, Ben.
It's a pleasure to have you. How are you feeling today?
I mean, it's a Friday. I'm excited. It's sunny. It's mostly not cold.
What part of the country are you where it's like, how cold are you?
I'm in Boise, Idaho, so it's about 40 degrees right now.
Okay. I'm over here in Michigan, and so we're on like somewhere here in this part of the state, Bugs Bunny keeps flipping a switch to turn on and off the snow.
We do have that here too. So we had snow just a couple days ago. I think we got 3 inches. So
let's dive right deep into you.
Okay, let's do this.
Yes, you describe yourself as a systems architect. What exactly is that?
So mostly now, I go into businesses and I help them to curate a system that creates a inclusive environment for all of their employees, for their customers, for their partnerships, all of that, to become brand advocates. And so by doing this, it allows them to touch and reach more people, to really build a solidified brand and to build better long-lasting relationships, because rather than having to sell all the time, they have a steady flow of referrals and supporters coming in. So that's really what I do.
Wow. So yeah, and like everyone within like your employee network is talking about your thing rather than just clocking in every single day. Is that a good, accurate description?
Exactly. So like most stuff, probably, we can use some analogies here, but most of the stuff that you probably purchase, you've seen someone else have. So maybe you saw it on a TikTok video, or you saw a friend that has it. You're like, oh, I have to have that, right? So that was an indirect referral because they were a brand advocate because they purchased it first. Now, when you then go to buy it, say you find something and you want to go buy it off of Amazon, You go for a second reference, you read the reviews, right? You see how many stars it has.
Oh.
Now that is another layer of referrals and people to people, like you're trusting what the people said, you're not trusting what the ad says, right?
Right.
So if you start to build that and compound that, so your entire marketing, sales, and business strategy is around brand advocacy and support, then now you start to remove those ad spend and you start to lean in and give back to your customers. Because if you give back to people that promote for you, then you're investing in the people that are investing in you. If you give back to your employees rather than having to just keep increasing their salary, you're giving them additional streams of revenue based on conversions. So it becomes, and then now you have an entire team of elitists that are showcasing their expertise, and they become top a quality employees because they're building a large network, which then becomes your external net worth. And so that's what we do. That's what being a system architect is.
Wow. I'm super excited about this. Because I always find joy in being like just this past week I had two people that like I said like you guys need to go and sit down on a Zoom call together, like you guys like would be super great like if I put you guys in a room, and I'd love to talk about that, like just the simple joy of being like the connector, like that person who is like even if it's just a simple like referral of from one person to another, or it's the person who's like recommending something, whether it be like a product. I want to talk about that, like what's the joy you find in being that like referral master.
Well, I mean, it does make you feel good when people start to come for you because you're known for giving great referrals, giving great recommendations, giving great food feedback on, like, so you go to a restaurant and you post pictures and they're like, man, everything that you post about, I had to go try that and it was amazing. And so now people start to respect your opinion. And that makes people feel seen and heard. And that's what everyone wants, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
just a simple um, act of sharing your experience. People want to know about other people's lives. They watch more TikTok. They participate on social media more than they watch television now. Well,
Right.
why did we watch TV? So that we could participate in other people's stories, other people's lives. Now these were written narratives, but now we can see people in real action and we can watch their lives. We can participate in their story. And so by curating that narrative, and that's another thing that I help people do, to curate that narrative, because if you don't curate it and you're just posting and you don't have any plan or system around what you're doing, you're sort of playing telephone, right?
Ah.
You're not curating what you want people to talk about you. When you're not there or to refer people to you, you're not curating the conversation. You're saying, well, I heard from Sarah, who heard from Monique, who heard from Trevor, who heard from Paul that you were doing this, right? And so now if you're
Mhm.
just actively sharing and talking about your life, then they don't have to tell stories. They don't have to make up, and it doesn't have to be hearsay. So teaching people not to be afraid of curating their brand narrative and their brand story and putting out there and sharing their expertise, that's my expertise.
And how do you like I think there's always like that worry of like, oh man, like being overconsumed by the telephone narrative. How do you control that? Like how do you control the voice of the internet when they're talking about yourself?
Understanding how to create clear messaging. And that's really important, is understanding clarity, becoming a good storyteller. You know what I mean? Like when
Yeah.
you're going to retell what happened, create a clear narrative where people can visualize the experience you were having. They go right there, just like a television show where you hop in and you're part of that story. That's clear script writing, right? And so you're scripting the narrative of your life. It's essentially the new version of a diary, but we're doing it through imagery and we're putting it out there for everyone to read. We're just creating a like a curated version of it so that it's clear and people can see themselves in your shoes.
Oh, awesome. I'd love to talk about, we touched a little bit both in the introduction and in the pre-show about the idea of self-limiting beliefs, and I'd love to pick your brain on this topic. What are your thoughts on self-limiting beliefs?
So, self-limiting beliefs are usually beliefs that were programmed into us based on our childhood, right? So, based on our surroundings of what other people's opinions and what our experiences have been, those are our self-limiting beliefs. We believe based on these experiences and our current knowledge that that's what we're capable of. And so, what we do at my company is we break those down. So what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And so we give you the tools, the resources, and the hype, the inspiration in order to curate a whole new narrative for yourself. Break those beliefs down and say, I would love to do this. Now, I've only ever been exposed to X, Y, and Z, but I really want to go and do A, B, and C, right? Or 1, 2, and 3. And so we help you to create a systematic approach. Essentially, everything's a system, right? A systematic approach in order to start that process of moving forward to do that. But you have to break down what you did. Why do I believe this? So going back into your childhood, at what point did I start believing that I was only capable of accomplishing X, Y, and Z, and that I wasn't able to do 1, 2, and 3? So once you start to put that down and then you kind of reverse engineer, then you can build a pathway forward because you know why you believe that, and you know that you want to overcome that because you have a drive to accomplish something. And so, that's where we come in. That's where I come in, is to help you believe in yourself and to be there. Most people, they just need someone to listen, someone to cheer them on. And so that's where the relationships, that's where people are afraid of building community online or sharing their story. But you truly, if you do it correct, you will have, hundreds, thousands, possibly millions of raving fans cheering you on for your success because they invest in you, they invest in your story. So, and you're probably only afraid once again because of a false belief. You don't think you're good enough, or you don't think you're brave enough or strong enough, or all of these things. And so if we break those down, then you'll see that you are good enough, you are strong enough, you are brave enough, and you can accomplish whatever you want to.
I want to combine these last two topics that we've talked about into one question, if I may. The first of it being, have you, because you're in the brand area, have you heard about the recent South Park episode that came out where they were making fun of the King and Queen of England?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. The joke in this episode was that one of the kids went and basically to a brand management company. And yes, this is why I bring this up. It's so he would sit down. It's like, oh, you need to go and get your brand worked out. And every single time he would come back and get his brand worked out, it's like, okay, you're a cool, fun-loving, energetic victim. And then every single time they worked out their brand with someone, the running joke was that they would always include the word victim. And I feel like that this is also what we're touching on here with the the self-limiting belief, is that people have almost baked this into some celebrity brands, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, whether it's oh, it's just a South Park joke, but do you feel like there's some truth to this, people are using this in their branding? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so last year I worked on a project that was in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I interviewed hundreds of people. And I think that is a narrative that is baked into a lot, is that victimization, especially in the culture of trying to create an inclusive company culture and to remove the word victim. You know what I mean? And
Mm,
so I think a lot of it is um, going at it from an emotional intelligence, like increasing your understanding and the fact that maybe you do have, you know, um, false beliefs towards the fact that and maybe you have been victimized in the past. I'm not saying I'm not like disregarding that. What I'm saying is
right.
these are things everyone can change their stars. I don't know how you want to say it, like change where they're at in life if they change their mindset, right?
Yeah.
If they shift their mindset. So I do think that culturally, um, there is a lot of that. It's baked into a lot of narratives, the victim aspect. But I think by coming at it as a support network and helping people to not be afraid to be seen and heard. And I really think that building that personal brand and then teaching people about opportunities and about self-love and all of those things that people don't feel like they should have, maybe because at some point something happened.
Mhm.
And I think that that's where we can remove that victimization. But I do think it's in a lot of past. I mean, there's like our past is jaded with a
Right.
lot lot of marketing and sales and bad acts by individuals in our lives. Previously, there. Not saying there's not a lot of bad things, but you can either choose two pathways, right? You can choose to be a victim, or you can choose to look at something as an opportunity and move forward and learn from, maybe what something else did. So I think that those are the two pathways that we can give someone. There's individuals that, have lose both of their legs in war and then come home and win Special Olympics types things, you know what I mean?
Right.
But that's the mindset because they chose to not be a victim of that. And there's people that come home without any legs from war that they were in, and it plagues them for the rest of their life. So it's a choice. And I think that by empowering people, we show them that it is a choice.
Yeah, I think that's a very strong like answer to that. Like there's and like people have different circumstances, and whether or not you choose to be a victim of that circumstances is still a choice.
Yeah.
That what a wonderful like food for thought. uh, with that being said, what an excellent segue we have here. Um, I'd love to talk about the idea of the comfort zone. Um, and the idea of like, okay, now like stepping outside of the comfort zone and like then like, oh hey, like this area that like, you touched a little bit on it in your answer of like the idea of growth, and then like becoming that like, oh hey, this this theoretical person that comes home from war with no legs, but then chooses to be in the Special Olympics. Like this idea of growth, then like a lot of times growth is hard. And so how do we then step into an area of discomfort in order to become that person?
I think that once again, it is surrounding me. It starts with choice, right? It's always going to start
Right.
with choice. You have to choose to want to change. You have to choose to want to better your life. You can't force someone to want to have a better lifestyle. Now you can through example, right? So and that comes with posting and curating and sharing your story. You're inspiring other people to have a fun and filled life, right? So if you're doing it in a way where when you post, it's not braggalicious. It's more just sharing your joy. Like, this is what brings me joy. It's my family, it's my friends, it's what I do. It's all of this accumulation of my life. I choose to be happy and live a happy lifestyle. And I'm sharing this story with you. You can either watch and comment and be a part of it, or you can scroll past it, right?
Right.
That's the number one choice, is choosing to do something. So that's how we can encourage people to make that choice, to want to level up, to be something different, to do something better. Now once you make that choice, you have to actively propel yourself to be around people that are going to keep you on that trajectory forward. Like find networks, build relationship, find groups, different individuals, education, mentors, whatever it may be for you, because I don't know exactly what, direction someone is coming from, but find the people that can hold your hands and tell you every day it's going to be all right. Because most things, from getting in shape to starting a business to being in a relationship, I mean, those are all hard for a lot of people, and they need support. When they're having a bad day, they need people to say, whatever, come on, you got this,
Mm-hmm.
So those cheerleaders in your life. I actually had another call with a founder of a company called Happy this morning, and it is a listening application where people can just call in and someone will listen to them. And he's talking about how it has actually transformed so many people's lives, because they don't have that person in their life that will just listen. And
Right.
they don't want advice from, a therapist. They just need to talk through it, because most of the decisions and the answers are within us anyways. We're the ones
Mm-hmm.
that need to talk through and sort through all of the thoughts in our head. So sometimes we just need a non-biased listener to be a part of our journey. And so I think it's a brilliant application and a brilliant company, because I think millions of people, that's all they want. They want to be heard, So if you start there by someone just listening to you, to get all of, to think through or to articulate all of the chaos in your head in order to find that pathway to success, I think that that's a pretty brilliant application.
Wow, that you said it was an app called Listen?
Happy, HAPI.
Happy.
Yep.
I'm gonna put that in the comments down below for anyone that might be looking for that. And that's the YouTube comment section for anyone who's watching this, maybe watching this in the future. And with that being said, again, we're segueing right into the next topic. You touched a little bit on like the idea of like, oh hey, growing our circle for our goals. Like how do we do that? It's like we're in a position where like, oh hey, I need to have like this great circle of people in order to accomplish this goal. Where like, how do I go about that step? How do I go about finding these people that will either listen or X, Y, Z, A, B? Go ahead.
So many ways.
Right.
All right. So there's there's the neighborhood app. Maybe you want to keep it close to your house, right? That is your first step. You just want to connect with your neighbors, and people are afraid to just go to their neighbor's door and knock on the door and introduce themselves. So the neighborhood app is actually a really good tool, because you can start to see who your neighbors are. You could reach out and message them and be like, hey, I see you live right up the street. I just wanted to introduce myself. And then people will sneak out of their houses and start to talk to one another, right?
Wow, we can't just say hello to people anymore. Like we have to use technology in order to do it.
Right? If you have dogs, going to a dog park, like that is such a great way to meet all of your neighbors, is to go to a dog park, because they'll start talking to one another and the dogs will start to connect, and then you introduce yourself and then you start to make friends because you see people on a regular basis. I started dancing a couple years ago, so partner dancing. So from anything from like line dancing to country swing to West Coast swing to bachata, right? So that was a really great way. And I didn't even know there was such a huge dance community in my city until I started dancing and I started diving into it. Now there's literally hundreds of new friends that I've made, and there's dancing 7 days a week. Now that's a huge way to build confidence and to get out and exercise and build relationships. I joined on the Nextdoor app a couple years ago. It was like 2019. I posted, hey, I work from home. I want to go hike during the day at lunch. Is anyone in it? And I had over 50 people respond to me. And I was like, yes. So I've just made so many friends by putting myself out there. when I went to, so back in 2017, my company went to the Web Summit in Dublin, Ireland. So my partner and I, we went on and we looked up every hashtag on all the social platforms under Web Summit. And we started reaching out to everyone that was using the hashtag that were saying, oh, I'm going to the Web Summit, going to the Web Summit. So by the time we got there, we had made friends with people in 14 different countries. We had invites to all of the private parties. We got there like 3 or 4 days before. We stayed 3 or 4 days after the summit just to make friends. And I'm still friends with those people from 2017. So, I mean, that's just, I could go on and on because I love meeting people, but there's a million ways that you can go and find and search and reach out to people. Because if someone's talking about something you're interested in, whatever that niche may be, there's a real person behind that digital profile. Oh, okay, here's a good one. So a couple of days ago, so I do hiking. I said that, and I was a travel guide. So I went to Ireland in October and guided a tour with a friend of 10 women. And so we had to drive all over Ireland. So I flew in and been like flying for 18 hours. I flew into Dublin and I had to go pick up my car. It was a stick shift on the wrong side of the road, driving with my left hand. And I have 4 strangers in the car. I have to then hop in the car and drive 4 hours. And I was like praying the whole time, like, please don't die. Please don't die. So one of the girls, I was like, hey, I need a navigator because I have no idea where I'm going. I don't have no idea how to drive this car, and I just want to keep you all alive. So can you navigate for me? So she was my navigator for the whole week of it. And so we have stayed friends. She lives in Oregon and I live in Idaho. So she hopped a flight with a friend who has a private plane and has to come here for work on a weekly basis. And so on Monday, she went and we spent the whole day and I showed her all around Idaho. But so we met through a travel Facebook group, but we physically met in real life in Ireland. And she met another girl that came and hung out with us that she met on a trip to Iceland.
Wait, did she fly to Ireland to be your navigator, or was she already in Ireland?
She was on the trip I was on too. She had paid to be on the guided trip. Yeah. And so now we're good friends and we're actually going to Greece together in September. So you can meet people on different social platforms, meet them in real life, and then become forever friends. So it's pretty easy to meet people if you put yourself out there. People want to make friends. They want to, they want to be that support network, and I just think that most people are afraid to put themselves out there, especially as adults.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just got to say hi.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we just need to say hi. No, I love hearing these stories. Like, I know I have at least 2 social groups that I hang out with right now. One of them, like that I'm gonna go to like this afterwards on Friday nights, and one that I hang out with tomorrow Saturday mornings locally. That it's just like someone shot a message like, hey, do you want to come and play cards with us? Like, yeah, sure. Where are you? 7 minutes away from your house. We are receiving intermission from the dogs. But I've always equated to that thing of like, oh, hey, like, I'm throwing a party. The party will happen whether or not you're here. Would you like to come? And a lot of people like will say like, oh, there's a thing happening. Of course I want to come to the thing.
Last weekend I went to a karaoke party, and it's funny. So the guy that threw it, I met him 20 years ago from my friend met him when people used to meet people on Craigslist before everything. They used to have like where people would do chat and kind of like meet people and friends on Craigslist. He had just moved to Idaho from the UK and was looking for friends. They met on Craigslist, and then I met him indirectly, and we've been friends for 20 years. So he had a karaoke party. I didn't know anyone at the party, any of his current friends, so I took another friend, and I sang with these people for 4 hours straight. Like on Saturday, I didn't have a voice because we the whole party sang every single song at the top of our lungs, and it was like the best party ever.
That's amazing. So with this, I want to talk about something that like is like near and dear to me, and it's like this misconception of introverts and extroverts. And it's like, I feel like a lot of people like put themselves into one bucket or the other, or they'll put themselves into the introvert bucket, and then like they'll use that as their false belief for not doing XYZ activity. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
So, like anything, becoming social, it can be taught, right?
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean if you are actually more introverted that it's not going to drain you and you're going to go, it's like a hard workout, right? You're
Right.
doing something that doesn't naturally come to you. It's something that you learned how to become good at, right? And there's a lot of things in our life that we're not naturally great at, but we learn how to do really good at it. And after you do it, you're drained. So if you think of being social as something that is like going and doing a hard workout, or learning to dance and you're dancing for hours and you weren't a natural dancer, you learned how to dance, right? And then you go do it and you come home and you're tired. That is a natural, like, what happens, like, sequence of events. So I think that that's the misconception, is that you can't learn how to do this, and you're limited. Once again, back to those limiting beliefs. Now you're limited to what an introvert would do, right? So now, I can only do these 5 or 6 things because that's my introverted life. You know what I mean? And that's not true. It means you just have to change your mindset, train yourself to be social and on cue. It's like going for a role for a movie, right? You're putting on that hat and you're performing during that time, and you're making those friends, and you go home and then you relax and you recharge, and you make sure if going out and socializing does drain you, you just know that it's going to drain me for this day. So I can't do 2 social events 2 days in a row because I just don't feel good afterwards, right? So it's like hard workouts. Like, I can't run a marathon 2 days in a row because it wipes me out. And you know that about yourself. So you take some time off after you run a marathon. And that's what being an introvert, but having the capability to do whatever you want. And if being social is part of what you desire to do because it's going to bring other aspects of joy into your life, then you just turn it on. You decide to do it, you learn how to do it, and then you play that role when you need to.
I love it. There's harmony in both places.
Yes.
I want to talk about what interference are we getting? This piece of paper. What do you have written on it? The Creator Academy. What is this thing that you have here?
Okay, so if you haven't noticed, I like to see the glass half full on just about everything. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of who I am. I'm more of I like to see the positive standpoint. So you've probably heard that there's been hundreds of thousands of company reorganizations that have left a lot of people without jobs.
Right.
And there is obviously a lot of unrest and negativity surrounding that. But let's take the flip side and look at what is the opportunity for executives, for founders, for CEOs, for employees? What is the opportunity moving forward of how we can make this a better outcome in the future, and we can build stronger organizations to support our employees, to support our contractors, to support the company growth, right? And it's kind of what we started talking about in the beginning. If we invest in people, so not just in the fact that we hire them to do a job for us, but we invest in their growth. We invest in their success. We invest in them and support them to become the best version of themselves. Now, I was talking to a guy earlier today, and he said, because I was showing how we help people to grow, like on LinkedIn specifically, right? So how do you grow? And we build these teams and grow them really fast. And he was like, oh my gosh, he's like, isn't this scary? Aren't you afraid that all of these people are going to then leave because they're going to get so many opportunities? They're going to leave these organizations. And I was like, that's like not wanting your spouse to be hot because you're so afraid that they're going to leave you or cheat on you because they're hot. So you're like, I want you to be fat because, or unattractive, or all of these things. I probably should, that was not very PQ or whatever it's called that, but you know what I mean? Like, I want you to be unattractive.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
Because I want you for myself, you know what I mean? And so that's basically what you're saying. So no, you want the hottest version of your spouse so you can show them off. Now think of, you have an entire organization, hundreds of people that work for you. Well, wouldn't you want the A players, like an entire team of A players on your team? Yes, maybe they will move on, but what if they leave the relationship a better version than they came to you, and then you
Right.
get the credit, they accredit you for helping them to launch. So you leave on good terms. Now, when they get on podcasts like this and they tell their origin story, where did they start? Who are they going to give that shout out to? They're still brand advocates. They're still sending people, and as their network grows, digitally, their story is being told over and over and over again. So is your story, right? It's only amplifying your success by investing into your team. So with that being said, in the Creators Academy, that's what we're doing. So we're creating an academy and teaching individuals to have a creator mindset, to invest in their employees, their contractors, their customers, their executive team, and think about it like I just explained. Think about investing in everyone. Build your voice, build your brand, build your network, and become an extension. So like Nike, where Nike dresses their employees and their employees' families and their employees' friends because they give a great discount in their apparel from head to toe. Digitally dress your employees, your customers, your executive team, your partners in your brand because you're so supportive, and you give back to the individuals that support you. Now that's going to amplify, and you're going to save money. You're not going to have to lay people off because you're going to grow from this huge referral network, and you're going to have long-term success and support. And so that's what this is about. That's helping people to see future forward. Also, one of the things in the future, like we're in Web 3 right now, but as Web 5, which is the accumulation of Web 2 and Web 3, and we start to own our own personal brand identity, everything we do becomes a monetizable asset. So as we start to control and understand the power of our personal brand, we can now leverage that and monetize that. So we're going to be teaching on a Web 5 environment, not so much saying that so we scare people, but teaching people how to think like that. So in the future, when it is more readily adopted, they're already there. They're already future forward. They're ready to go. And now they can start to monetize who they are and make, additional streams of revenue in the future.
I've thought about like my own work experience, like when you were talking about this. Like I've worked for companies that would only like, hey, we're gonna give you like as little pay as we can morally get away with, and you'll get these bare bone hours along the way. And you would see the repercussions of this. Like, people don't have any quarrels leaving those kinds of jobs, and there's always a better opportunity out there for those like if you ever have a quality employee enter that doorway, you may never know it, and they'll like head out the door for someplace better. Whereas like the place I'm working right now, like I'm working a job that gives us like health insurance, like we get pay increases. It's weird that I'm describing those sort of things like they're like fancy diamond things, but those are supposed to be like really basic stuff. But I digress. Like like there are certain these are certain sort of check marks that like, hey, these are like basic things that you should be providing your employees, but not every place does anymore if they can get away with it now. And,
Yeah.
like, hey, quality pay, like quality pay, quality hours, those sort of things. And, you see it in some of the employees. Like, there's people in there, like, because of like union work that they've been there for years. Some people will only be working there just like for like, oh, I just need health insurance, so I'll come in and do the work. And then you'll see people, it's like, oh, hey, I could use a few more hours. Like, I'll learn XYZAB or other thing. But then you'll get those people who like go on. It's like, oh, hey, I'm moving on because I'm moving on because I was able to get like free school or whatever, and I'm moving on to the better thing. And it's like, isn't that a good thing? It's like, if you didn't provide them that, they would have left a lot sooner. And then of course you always get your basic people that like just leave and flake out. That's normal. That would have happened anyway.
I was reading a review today, and it was talking about it was a recruiter, and he was saying, before you go work at a job on LinkedIn, you can go see who worked at the place, and you can reach out to them and ask them, like, did you enjoy working there? What made you leave? Now, if everyone that leaves has negative feedback on your company, that's not, and we're teaching people to do this. Now, that's not going to attract a lot of top talent, right? But if
Right.
you're investing in your team, you're investing in the success of these individuals. Now, if you reached out, you went to the next level, but they got you there, right? And so you're going to say, now, someone who's 10 years younger and just starting their career, say, hey, would you work here? And you're like, I loved that place. They helped me to get to where I am today. I have them to thank for my success and where I'm at. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love the people I worked with. I love the people I worked for. So you didn't leave negative. You left on a
Right.
positive note. You know what I mean? And that's what you could do. Another thing that can come from this is, so think of individuals or organizations that are massive. So I have a friend, she's probably watching. She's worked at she's she's worked at Costco, for example, who has, thousands and thousands of employees for 15 years. And we were talking about this, having this discussion, because she's been an employee for 15 years, and I was telling this, and I've always been an entrepreneur, right? I've always been the boss, so I always think of things from the boss standpoint of, how can I do better for my employees? How can I offer better?
Mm-hmm.
What did I do wrong, in this standpoint? So I'm always seeing it from that perspective. So I have to ask all my friends and interview people about the employee mindset, because I
Right.
just haven't been an employee. And so we were talking about this, and I was like, have you ever met the CEO? Have you ever met the vice president? Or have you ever met anyone on the executive team? 15 years, right? And she said, no, she hadn't. And so imagine that. When people talk
Mm-hmm.
about being a number in an organization, and you have an organization that's that massive, right? How do you not feel like a number? Because one, as the executive team, you can't go and actually hug everyone and wish them a happy birthday, right? There's too
Right.
many people. So technically, they care about you, but technically you are a number and a name on a spreadsheet to them, right? So how do you make these people feel seen and heard? So one of the ways is executive teams having a social presence and engaging with individuals. So one like or one shout out or anything could completely change the way an employee feels about a CEO. Now, there's systematic approaches to do that for these large organizations. There's
Mm-hmm.
notifications that do that. You can't even have an assistant do it, right? It could be the persona of you, but it's
Right.
giving that love. It's showing that, and it's encouraging these individuals to build a brand, to build, like their own personal net worth and wealth inside of your organization. It's just a different perception of inclusiveness that could become a part of the company culture if everyone were to implement a systematic approach like this. Now, they're always, when you go into Costco, for example, they're always saying, would you like to add a credit card, or would you like to like get your membership on auto and stuff like that? So if every single employee had a code that they're talking about their great experience of working there, and they had a digital code that if someone signed up, they got a kickback. Now you have thousands and thousands of employees building a personal brand, talking about how much they love to work there, talking about you should join our membership. And now they just have rather than the people, like the ads they're doing or the people at the door, now they have thousands and thousands of happy employees promoting them online and building a network for them. So it changes everything. And almost every single company has something that they offer that could do this for their employees. Now, she would make extra money, and she would also feel, just emotionally, like I said, if like the CEO liked her post, which it would notify him on LinkedIn, for example, notify the accounts, liked the post and said, hey, thanks for, your name for posting this. And then she would be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You know what I mean? It's just that. It's just like building that type of like, hey, I see you, that would make a huge difference in someone in 15 years, never a single touch point, right? There's opportunity for that.
There's a platform out there. I think it's just for this. It's called Achievers, where like organizations can basically like have their own social media platform for their company, for like recognizing employees and saying, hey, thanks so and so for doing an excellent job on XYZAB. It's like, it's just for that. And it goes back to what you're saying, like, hey, the CEO could then like say, hey, thank you XYZAB store for doing such a fantastic job on the cleaning inspection on this date. You guys did a fantastic job. Like stuff like that. That's like that recognition goes a long way.
Employee of the month, the star award, you know what I mean? Like we've done gamification and promotion since we were in kindergarten. Get a star here, you know what I mean? Like that has been a part of life. It still works. It still works for people. Now we can do it at mass. Now we can do it as corporations. Now we can do it to make, as a population is so big and the world is so fast, we have to think of how to do this in the future. And this is one of the ways that we can do that. Teach everyone to become a creator. Companies become a creator. And that's where, you give your brand a voice at that point. You almost humanize your brand, or you really do humanize your brand, because you're bringing the human voice of everybody collectively inside of your brand, to the forefront. So it's a much different way perspective. And I think that that's how we're going to move forward, and how we're going to turn this something negative into an opportunity.
Yeah. Is this how you see like the future of the workforce kind of going, where like we're getting notifications from our work on our personal devices, where we see like, hey, great job doing so and so today, or like you see like this stuff like more and more so becoming virtual. I'm curious to know, like, because you touched on a little bit of the grievance that a lot of people have from some jobs being replaced with more digital stuff.
So I do. So I mean, I have tons of opinions on this, but because of COVID, we got introduced to, in my future, what the future of work looks like. Hybrid remote models are, I think, the key to success. Now, one of the things that it made a lot of corporations realize is there was so much waste in commercial space, because people want to be home. They don't want that overhead of having a sitter, or having to have a dog walker, or having to that commute. And there's so eat out all the time. There's a lot of money that can be saved by having a hybrid or remote model. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't want to be around people. That was the first conversation. And that's not the solution, is isolation either. What the solution is co-ops. So changing what used to be isolated work environments to co-op for other corporations. So maybe now 50 different corporations lease the same space, and it becomes a co-op for individuals, workstations, places for to go and communicate. Entrepreneurs have been doing it for years, and now the corporate realm can see that it's an opportunity to do that. So we're reutilizing space. We're letting people have choice. Choice is the key. It's been like the conversation topper, right? People thrive in making choices. And when we give people empower them to make their own decisions and choices, they will choose once you give them the right tools and resources to make their life better, make your life better, all of those things, right? They will make the choice. But when you're making the decisions for them, you're telling you have to do this, then that's where they start to rebel. That's where things start to go wonky, and the distrust, the unhappiness, the mass layoffs, all of these things start to happen. Now, when I talk about owning your own credibility and what I think Web 5 is, I think we now become independent contractors versus all employees. We become brand assets. So you can become a brand advocate for a company and be a part of that company, but you're negotiating the terms. You're negotiating per projects rather than a salary. You're getting to work and stay in your area of expertise and do more than one thing. You start to think like a freelancer rather than an employee because you liked the taste of getting to work remote. You liked having the freedom of what that looks like. Now you still want benefits, and so it's just a reorganization of how you negotiate terms, right? But they're on your own terms. We're empowering you to do that. Now this is actually saving corporations hundreds of thousands of dollars without having the overhead of what it costs to have hundreds and thousands of employees, to have that big space. Now they can reutilize the space. So it's going to make, like I said, people are unhappy right now and there's a lot of turmoil. But in the future, if you get to negotiate your own terms, you're making your own money. You get a hybrid model. You get to go work in any of these co-op spaces because your company has invested in 50 of them around the world, and you can work from anywhere. You better believe me, you're going to be a lot happier. You're unhappy right now, but you're going to be a lot happier in the lifestyle that you get to live, the security that you get to have, the freedom that you're going to have, the opportunity to experience. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be a lot better. So I get change sucks and it's hard and sometimes it's uncomfortable, but change is growth, right? Our growth is uncomfortable because it brings change.
I mean, what you're describing like sounds beautiful. Like the idea that like you could work for like a high level company and not even be anywhere near them on the globe. Then it's the issue of like, oh hey, like I can't get out of this third world country because I'm so poor. Then all of a sudden that barrier is like less and less removed because like now you have the skill and you're on the other side of the globe. It's not an issue. We have this like now hybrid space in your area. You can just go and work there now. It's like I think that solves a lot of people's like initial problems right there.
Most of the people that work for me are all over the world. So we have the UK, Canada, Serbia, Pakistan, Warsaw, the Philippines. Trying to think of, we have I think almost 14 different companies of people that are on our team right now. I mean, and
You mean countries?
They're true team members, like they work for us on a regular basis. They're incredible at what they do. So it doesn't matter as long as you have access to an internet, which most people do. I mean, like we do have a few internet and storm issues and stuff like that, but we work around it. You know what I mean? Like we it's fine.
The game's been called on account of rain.
Yeah. So things happen, but as long as you know that's going to happen and you've got other team members that support, if something happens, then they stop it, they hop in. But it's incredible. And we work on different time zones, which is great because now I wake up to incredible work being done. And I'm like, it's like Christmas every morning.
Yep.
So I think it's amazing. And it's great when you see team members posting from Bali on the beach and being like, best life ever, you know what I mean? And like that's the things that you want as an
Yes.
employer. You want people to post that they have the best life ever, and they're associated with you. You're a part of their success, and nothing feels better than that.
Well, there's also a whole other thing that that comes with that too, and it's that you're waking up to the work being done. You have this level of trust with them that's like, okay, I trust that the work will be done when I wake up. I don't need this whole systemic middle management process of having one person who watches another person who watches another person type situation. Like, we trust that the work will be done when another time zone wakes up.
Do you know what doesn't happen? Bullying, like you said, bad managers creating chaos, a lot of
Right.
behind the scenes drama. That stuff is all removed when you create this support network, when you create this social presence where everything is out in the open. All of the negativity that happens sometimes, the gossip pools that start to happen, that is removed. And when you're encouraging people to be their best self, guess what happens? If they're having a bad, negative, like mental health day, it's easy for everyone to be like, hey, I'm here for you. I've got you. Take it off. Don't worry. We can handle this, because you talk on such a regular basis and you talk about your life and you share in these safe spaces. You're going to know if someone is having an off day. You're going to have those conversations. Everyone's going to see it. Everyone's going to be alerted, and you're going to have a whole team of people that have that emotional intelligence to reach out and be like, hey, I've got you. Don't worry about it. Take the day off, go relax, go refresh. We're here. And so what I mean, because it's per project, it's not a per hour at this point. You're not like clicking in and being like, are you in there from 9 to 5? Because that doesn't matter. As long as the work is getting done and the projects are getting done and the customers are happy, then it changes. Now there's hundreds of thousands of companies that this could work. Now, obviously, Costco or something where you actually have to be physically in there. There's different solutions for those companies. But like I said, there's hundreds of thousands of companies that this new economy will affect and will, it'll impact them. And so they can look at work differently, hiring and employing, that type of stuff.
Chrissy, where can people find you?
LinkedIn is where I live. I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I mean, I am on Facebook, but that's where like my personal stuff, you're going to see smiling raisin bread and like pictures of my dog on Instagram and Facebook. LinkedIn is my professional space.
Ladies and gentlemen, go find Chrissy on LinkedIn, because as she has stated, that's where she has pitched her tent. And this has been, I must say, one of my favorite conversations, because I love when we get to talk about all of these wonderful topics about limiting beliefs and just the extrovert and introvert and where to find all these amazing friends. If I've said, and we've talked about any tools, I have typed out the apps over in the YouTube comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back next week for, what's this? Ah, yes, our merchandise. We'll be back next week for the Murder Party Mastermind. Which, if you would like to join that, go ahead and leave a comment down in the comment section below, and we'll get that information to you, and where you can join us live on Zoom for a whole bunch of trivia, a whole bunch of prizes, and a whole bunch of merriment. And then the following week, we'll be back for another wonderful episode of My Cool Friends. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, this has been your host. My name is Ben Ebig, and you have a safe and fantastic weekend.